Welcome to the Accent Training Podcast, a podcast where I give you tips on how you can harness the potential of your spoken English. Notice the word I use there, the potential. Interesting choice of words, isn't it? Because the potential, this is implying that it's something that you don't have yet. You may not know what lies in that potential, and you may not know what you can get out of this potential. But the fact is, you have the potential, and I'm showing you how to harness it. How to harness the potential, how to take control and use your potential. What is this saying anyway? Your potential. Well, this is what you're capable of achieving. And so when we break this phrase down, I'm here to show you how to harness the potential of your spoken English. I'm saying that I'm here to show you how to take control of the capabilities, the things that you can achieve with your spoken English. To set you on the right track, my friend. That is my goal. That's what I'm here to do. My name's Pat, and I'm the guy that gets you on track to achieving your goals in spoken English. Well, today I'm going to give you a little bit of study material, folks. Today I'm going to give you just a nice little reading. Little reading with some good news. Isn't it about time we got some good news? There's a lot of bad news out there these days, isn't it? A lot of terrible things happening around the world. People aren't doing so well. People are hungry. People are sick. People are cold. They don't have houses. Even in America, a lot of people are going homeless across the United States. And Canada, too. People are losing their homes. And it's a cold, cold winter. But I'm not the one to deliver bad news, folks. I'm just a quick little break from that bad news. And today I've got some good news. Some good news about a pristine coral reef. A coral reef. It's pristine. And it's off of the coast of Tahiti. It's just off the coast of Tahiti. This is the news that I found on BreakingNewsEnglish.com. Now, for today, what we're going to do is we are going to read through this article. And I'm going to put the link to this article in the description of this podcast. So you can just check the link, click on that, and you can read along with me. Here's what we're going to be looking for in here. We're going to break this down in terms of schwas, my friend. We're going to identify the schwas in this article, and we're going to play around with that syllable stress a little bit. So if you just want to listen along, if you're driving or your hands are busy or something and you can't read at the moment, that's okay. You don't have to read. Just listen. We'll break some things down. But if you have the opportunity and you're not doing anything too important and you're just chilling, open up that link and let's get to work. So we're going to be reading out this article here today, written by Mr. Sean Banville. Great writer. He writes a ton of these fantastic articles on this website, Breaking News English. Make sure that you check the link in the description. It's full of free articles written in English, designed for you to practice your speech, to practice some vocabulary, maybe grammar skills. Great website, Breaking News English. Now, I'll give you a chance to get that article open right here. And while you do, I'm just going to break down a couple things that we've learned in our previous classes about the schwa. Because like I said, that's the main focus of today, identifying these schwas. So what do we know about the schwa from our previous classes? Well, we know that the schwa isn't an actual letter, is it? It's just a sound that we make. And we know that the schwa can replace any vowel letter, A, E, I, O, or U. Any of them, while they may be written with an A or an E or an O, the pronunciation may just be an a schwa kind of sound. We know that schwas can be unpredictable. Sometimes it can be difficult to determine whether we're working with a schwa or a stressed vowel. There are some rules, and we'll talk about rules more in the future. And one other thing that we know is that in these longer 3- and 4-syllable words, it is common that maybe a middle vowel in one of those words, if it's unstressed, instead of giving it a schwa sound, we'll just make it disappear altogether. Like we saw previously with different, every, dropping a letter out from the middle. So keep those things in mind as we read along here. So I'm sure anybody who's going to open up this article and read along with me has opened it up by now. If you haven't opened it up, well, that's all right. Maybe you got something else going on. But if you can open it up, I would strongly advise it because, well, that's how you're going to get the most out of this episode. We're going to read along here, and I'm just going to point out some of the schwas as we do. So starting out, pristine coral reef discovered off coast of Tahiti. Now notice some of the words that I read out in here. Discovered. I made that I, that first I there, totally disappear, right? Discovered. And the O in the middle got all the stress. Discovered. And then another unstressed sound on the ending. Another schwa, this time with an R. Schwa R. And notice also how I said Tahiti. I didn't say Tahiti with 3 strong sounds, but it was rather weak, strong, weak. Tahiti. That's what we're working with here, folks. That's what we're working with. So we're going to read this out here. I'll read maybe 3 sentences at a time. And if you're reading along with me, what I invite you to do is listen to me read those 3 sentences, then just pause this podcast episode, read it yourself, and then hear how we break it down. This is how we're going to really practice these schwas here. Let's get started. Marine biologists have unearthed a spectacular coral reef off the coast of Tahiti in the South Pacific. The 3-kilometer-long reef lies at a depth of 30 meters. The scientists believe the array of corals and ocean vegetation contains previously undiscovered marine species. Now, before you pause it to read along, if you're listening and you want to read along, watch for these words here that keep popping up. Marine. Notice I'm not saying marine, but marine. Ocean. Ocean. Not an ocean, but ocean. Schwa. Ocean. Biologists. Where's the schwa in there? That L-O, right? Biologists. Marine biologists. Now, if you're reading this article along with me, pause this episode, read that out, watch for those schwas, play with the stress, and then we'll take things from there in the next sentences. If you're not reading along, that's all right. You're just listening and repeating. Nothing wrong with that. Let's move forward. They have already found hundreds of rose-shaped coral, some of which measure over 2 meters in diameter. Deep-sea diver Alex Rosenfeld said he was stunned when he came across the reef. He wrote, "It was magical to witness giant, beautiful rose corals which stretch for as far as the eye can see. It was like a work of art." Now let's break down a couple of words in there. Magical. Magical. Notice that G-I in the middle. I'm not saying magical, but magical. Magical. Making a schwa. Beautiful. Beautiful. Another flap T with a schwa. Beautiful. Beautiful rose corals. Corals. And here's another one here. He came across the reef. Across the reef. 2 schwas in there. Across the reef. Interesting how that works, eh? Interesting. You can really catch this. You can adjust it to your own speech. It's all about identifying those schwas and repeating them. Keep repeating those to yourself, folks. If you're reading along, now's the time. Pause it. Read along. Get some practice. Watch for those schwas. And if not, that's all right. Let's finish off this first half of the article. Scientist Latita Henduin said, "It is a very healthy reef. In the middle of the biodiversity crisis, this is very good news." Now, where did we find schwas in here? Well, notice that name, Latita. Now, I know maybe people from other languages who are reading this may pronounce it a little bit differently from me, pronouncing all the vowels a little clearer, but I would say Latita for that name. So that's got a couple of schwas in there. Latita. And a flap T before the final schwa. We also have in biodiversity. City. It's not a city, biodiversity, but rather biodiversity. City. Getting that flap T after the schwa. Great habit to build. City. City. Well, I'll let anybody reading hit pause, read along, watch for those schwas, try and hit those flap T's, see what you can get. And for anybody else, well, we're going to continue with the next few sentences here. Scientists say the location of the Tahiti Reef means it is in pristine condition. Most of the world's reefs are in warmer waters. This makes them prone to the bleaching effects of global warming. So let's find a couple schwas in there. Effects. Is there a schwa in that word? Effects. Yes, that E in the beginning. Effects. I'm not saying FX or effects, but effects. How about another word here? Condition. This word has two schwas in it, my friends. Two schwas. Condition. Schwa, and then an I, di, and then a shin. Condition. Catch those schwas. Let's finish up this article and learn a little bit more about this reef. Let's see what we got. Tahiti's reef is deep enough to protect it from bleaching. There is still sufficient sunlight at 30 meters for coral to grow and reproduce. UNESCO said, "We think that deeper reefs may be better protected from global warming." It believes the Tahiti Reef is one of the most extensive healthy coral reefs on record. It added that more mapping of the deep ocean needs to be undertaken. It said, "We know more about the surface of the moon or the surface of Mars than the deeper parts of the ocean." Notice this word here, surface. Surface. I'm not saying surface, but surface. The surface of the moon. Surface of Mars. Surface. And ocean. The ocean. Ocean. Shin. Instead of an ocean, ocean. How about another one here? Let's see. Protected. Better protected. Again, not a protected, but protected. Protected. Now, we've seen a lot of words with schwas in here, and I'm sure you folks are starting to understand now how this is the most commonly used sound in the American accent. You can't avoid it. The schwa is all over the place. And, of course, you can say to yourself, oh, I don't want to have to learn something that's going to make me reevaluate all my vocabulary and change the pronunciation of a lot of things. I understand where you're coming from. You know, when we look at it this way, we can see that it's all over the place. Oh my God, how can we get a grasp on this? And that's all right, because these aren't going anywhere. So as I said in my previous episode, you don't need to rush and learn 500 words with a schwa in 1 month, or else they're going to disappear and you'll never have the opportunity again. No, of course not. You could learn 5 words in 1 month. You could learn 4 words in a month. Do 1 a week. By the end of the year, you'll have 52 new words with schwas. And I assure you, if you develop 52 words with schwas, you'll start to see some patterns in these words, and you'll start to pick up on it yourself, and your ears will open to this brand new sound, and your brain will say, whoa, hey, there's schwas here, there's schwas there, and you'll start noticing all over the place all these schwas. Today's episode, and the point of reading this article, isn't to say that you have to get all your schwas perfect every single time. Look at all the schwas, get to work. No, of course not. Today's episode is all about saying that the schwas are out there, There's no shortage of them, and they are most certainly worth taking the time to learn to develop. They'll help you control your speech stress, the strong and weak sounds, and I can assure you in the long run they'll give you a little more confidence in your speech. Maybe you just want to play around with your accent. That's good. This will help you get that done. Americans listen for syllable stress just as much as we listen for the sounds that you make, the exact sounds that you make. It's not only about the sounds, it's also about the stress, the strong and weak, strong and weak. This article alone, full of schwa sounds. We can see that. This is just one article that I picked. I thought to myself, hey, this is good news. They found some beautiful nature under the ocean. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. It's not damaged yet. It's pristine. It's pristine. It's in perfect condition. Pristine. That's good news. I want to tell folks about that. And so I'm happy that you've taken the time to listen. I could pick any article, and it's going to be full of schwas. There's no avoiding these things. So open up your ears to them. Just start looking into schwas bit by bit, adjusting the strong and weak rhythm to your own speech, and you'll take your English to a whole other level in no time. Like I said, if you learn one schwa word a week, just once a week, you notice a schwa in a word, and you do that every week for the entire year of 2022. By the end of the year, well, if you start now, because now we're in about the third week of 2022, so if you start now, you'll have, 49 words. And still, with 49 words, you'll notice some patterns, and this will get easier. So don't worry if you don't get everything at once. That's okay. Take things one step at a time, and your schwa will develop wonderfully. Now, if you like what you're hearing today, and you want a little bit more to work with, you want to really dig deep into the American accent, you want to learn how to control your stress the exact way that Americans do, using the exact sounds and the same stress, in the same way that we link words together, check out my video course, my friend. We're going to take a nice, in-depth look in this video course at the letter T, and we're going to see how the letter T can be manipulated to control your stress of speech. I've mentioned the flap T a couple of times in here today. And so we see how the flap T goes with schwas, and together they really give you control over your stress. So take what you've learned here today, check out the video course, apply it with the video course, and believe me, you'll have full control over your speech in no time. Well, I got to get to wrapping this one up for today. I got a class coming up shortly. So thank you very much for your time. It's been wonderful chatting with you this nice, brisk afternoon. It's not really cold out. It's just brisk, about 10 degrees Celsius. Maybe that's 55 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. Most of you listening are like me. Most of you people use Celsius, I'll bet. I mean, I know if you live in the United States, you probably are used to Fahrenheit by now, but if English isn't your first language, chances are you grew up with Celsius. Anyway, here it's about 10, so 10 is brisk. Nice breeze going through. It gets a little chilly, a little bit brisk. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for tuning on in. Keep catching those schwas, my friends. You can pick this up on your own. It's all about focus. It's all about focus. So enjoy yourself. Enjoy your day, your meals. Enjoy having socks on your feet. Just appreciate them. Your socks are keeping your feet warm, keeping your feet protected. Appreciate the fact that you've got socks to wear. If you've got nothing else, at least you probably, I can't speak for everybody, but at least you probably have socks on. And isn't that just something? People haven't always had socks. Did people always have socks? I don't know. I don't know anything about the history of fashion or clothing. Don't know much about fashion. Thank you for listening today. Have a good one.